Good evening, everyone. The time is 6:30, and I'm calling this meeting to order. As the mayor pro temp, the mayor is not feeling well, so I will be conducting this meeting. At this time, I'm going to do roll call. All are here currently except Steve Shelton, and he is on his way. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tyson, can you give us an invocation?
Heavenly Father, we come to you this day, thanking you for this wonderful day. Father God, we come ask you to come into the middle of our meeting as we make tough decisions based on our small town and social circle. Help us with the wisdom and guidance that you would like for us to have as we make these decisions. In your Son, Jesus' name, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Tyson. Okay, we have unfinished business, the proposed ordinance regarding regulating public assembly.
It's because she's got.
Oh, it's me.
Now, try.
Hers is still on.
You got it.
All right,
It's fixed
we're
now.
good.
Okay.
Okay, so here's a special call meeting tonight to discuss possible changes to our city ordinance regulating public assemblies. What I want to kind of say at the outset is since we first started talking about this at the meeting Tuesday night, I've had quite a few inquiries about some of the reasons for this. And I just want to be clear that the reasons for this right now, I mean, this is something that we had already started working on back last fall, and it was actually in response to a number of requests we've had for groups selling goods up at the traffic light. And on the staff level, we were debating whether or not something like that actually qualifies for assembly permits and whether there was a need to do it, because we were signing off on those things probably about 3 or 4 times a week, it seemed like at one point. And so, in light of the things that have happened since late December with the property over at the corner of Hightower and the bypass, we have had some increased inquiries about people wanted to have various types of public assemblies. We had a group that was just doing some canvassing. We've had groups wanting to do prayer vigils. We've had we actually had one protest over there on the bypass in East Hightower. That was about a month ago. And then we have had some inquiries for some other groups about what our regulations are. Should we should we get some requests for protests and things of that nature? So, given those inquiries, we felt it was time to fast track what we started last fall and put in some serious effort to revisiting what our ordinances are regarding public assembly. And public assembly, as we've used it here in Social Circle, it does include parades, film permits. Those are the most common things that we see on a regular basis, in addition to people who want to sell merchandise up at the stoplight. So with that in mind, I will turn it over to City Attorney Jay Crowley, and he will lead the meeting from this point.
And I would just like to add to that, the purpose of this proposed ordinance is not to prohibit assembly, but the goal is to keep everybody safe. That's the first and foremost goal. So it's sort of defining when you need a permit and, to some extent where you can do it and stuff like that and the times you can do it. With that said, I handed this out last Tuesday's meeting, gave y'all some time to read it over, send back some suggestions, which Adam did. The mayor did too, but his were typo related. And Adam sent back some suggestions. We can go through Adam's suggestions, or we can hear from everybody. We can just go through it however y'all want to do it.
I would suggest starting with kind of an overview,
Okay.
and then we can, if you want to start at the top, kind of walk us through it, maybe we can answer questions as we go along.
Sure. So it starts out with the definitions, and I'm not going to read every definition, but it does define assembly, which is an outdoor demonstration, rally, protest, march, parade, motorcade, procession of any kind or similar display consisting of persons, animals, or vehicles, or a combination thereof, having a common purpose, et cetera, et cetera. So it is not any assembly of people, it is for a common purpose. And then it breaks it off into two times when you would need to get a permit. It's those regardless of how many people, which would be if the assembly is blocking a sidewalk or closing or make it inaccessible to pedestrians. So it's not any assembly on a sidewalk. It is only those that are blocking a sidewalk. And that is really just to keep people safe and let the sidewalks be used for what they're supposed to be used for. The same thing for streets or right-of-ways. We don't want people blocking any city streets or any streets at all. Ingress or ingress into public facilities, so we don't want people holding an assembly blocking to the sewer plant, for instance. Permits for trails is another one. Adam had a comment on that, thinking it's unnecessary that people necessarily wouldn't do it on trails, and I don't even know where that would be in the city of Social Circle. I don't have any heartburn about taking that out or leaving it in. It doesn't matter to me one way or the other. The fifth one that you would need for regardless of how many people is if you're using sound amplification. Adam's comment on that is that the noise ordinance covers that, and he's correct. So we can take it out and the noise ordinance can cover it. We can keep it in and it's still the noise ordinance. It's just keeping it in two places and making that clear. Do you have a question?
No, go ahead. No,
Okay.
I'll ask questions after this.
Okay. The second type of permit is for over a certain amount of people. I originally had 25. I dropped it down to 10. Adam suggested going back up to 25, which I'm good with. It's whatever number y'all feel comfortable
I had a
with.
question about that,
Okay.
because I had asked Derek about that earlier,
About which part?
about the 25, 10 to 25.
Yeah, let's keep going through all this on the overview, and then we'll dive deeper into sections.
Okay. So if it's over whatever number, let's say 25, then they would have to come get a permit. Again, that's an assembly for a common purpose. Then it goes through what's on the application, how that's approved, city manager's review and denial of that application, and the appeals if he were to deny it, and then the prohibited conduct during any assembly, section 6-157. It's just got some general rules. No person shall unreasonably hamper, obstruct, or impede with any assembly. No driver or vehicle shall drive between the vehicles or persons comprising of the assembly. And then we get to some that Adam sort of suggested we take out, which is number 3, no person of an assembly or event shall carry or possess any weapons. No person or an assembly shall carry, and then the next few are about signs that they can and can't carry, which is really getting to a sign ordinance. I don't really have any heartburn if y'all don't on those. No person shall carry or possess any glass bottles, glass jars, glass containers. That's sort of getting to a safety issue along with the weapons. No drugs. Stones, rocks, again. And just trying to hit the highlights here. And then the penalties for violating that. So that's sort of the big overview. Happy to get into specifics, address any concerns.
So I think some of my concerns, I know some of them kind of mirror some of the council's had in talking to some of them. But I'll just start at the top, starting with the definitions of non-expressive events. I mentioned a couple of different types of events that we have had here. and they are fairly regular here. Wondering if they would need to continue falling into the needing a permit category. Specifically, if you look at the 6 categories that fall under a non-expressive event, 3 do not seem to fall in there. One is prayer vigils. We do have, if you set the threshold on that, typically those are probably more than 25 people, generally speaking. Also, you have, as I mentioned, activities going on at the stoplight. People selling goods at the stoplight. We had, probably the most common last fall was all these different baseball groups every weekend selling donuts at the stoplight. And our current ordinance actually requires that they get an assembly permit for that. And I kind of felt like that was overkill, personally, especially since these same groups were having to get the same permit every weekend. And I felt like that was like extremely overkill. If we were going to make them get a permit, why couldn't we just get some kind of a blanket permit that applies to 4 or 5 different dates at a time, rather than having to go through the approval process every weekend. Also with people seeking donations up at the stoplight, I haven't really seen that much here, but you certainly see that in other communities, particularly like, with boot drives at the fire department or Shriners or people like that, you certainly see. So that's one of the questions I had. I know that Adam had crossed out, he recommended crossing out the permits for trails. The question that I had, if that is left in there, then we need to carve out some sort of exemption for school events, because the trails that we do have over at Veterans Park are used for cross-country and the cross-country course. So we would need to make sure that we don't inadvertently fold them into what it is we're trying to achieve here. The noise ordinance, I think that as part of this, we probably need to beef up the noise ordinance a little bit, because I believe the noise ordinance as it currently reads is only from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. in the morning or something like that. And so certainly number 5 would not, anybody out there with loud equipment or megaphones or disturbing the peace from a noise basis, if it's during regular daytime hours, it may or may not be a violation of our noise ordinances. So that's something we need to look at. And then getting into some of the things that are regulated, such as signs. I mean, I don't want to be the sign police for something like this. And how is it we're going to enforce it? Are we going to have members of our police department out there with tape measures and asking them what type of gas is in the balloons? Parades have all of these things: placards, wood poles, plastic poles, PVC. And so that's something we need to think about, whether or not we are inadvertently prohibiting something. And especially when it falls into the responsibility of organizers, because organizers may not always know what others are going to bring to the event, particularly as it relates to things like balloons and floating devices and things like that. What else? What other comments did I have? Oh, yeah, again, page 9. A lot of those things are on a parade float. So, and again, my question is, are we gonna have somebody out there with a measuring stick?
Are you
And
talking about number 3 through 8 or 9?
yeah, like 4 through 7. I think that's what I bracketed off in here. And I believe those are all the questions that I have.
Anyone
Any
else
other
have
questions?
concerns, or y'all good with Eric and Adam's sort of recommendations, or?
I want to go back over some of Adam's.
Sure.
I saw something in about weapons.
Yeah.
What?
So the way that the proposed one is written is that it wouldn't allow weapons, and it sort of defines what a weapon is. Adam thought that was sort of overreaching, which Tony sort of agreed with.
Okay.
So it might be a Second Amendment issue.
Okay.
Yeah, my main thought was that was while I personally don't think they have any place there at a assembly that is meant to be loud and chaotic, it's not. You can't legislate malice.
Right,
So
right.
I think going back to megaphones and stuff like that. So if you're organizing something, you're saying you're going to have over 25 people, then you're going to want somebody in control with some sort of device that will project sound to, to be able to control the actual gathering. So that's another thing I see. That
Right, that's kind of the point I was trying to make about the noise ordinance. I think the noise ordinance, as it's written, applies specifically to amplified devices.
And so as far as the trails that you were mentioning, are you saying we should keep that in there?
No, I'm saying that if it is in there, if it is kept in there, then we probably need to exempt school activities.
Could we just exempt
okay.
all school activities?
We could, across the board, if you want to.
It needs to be.
Yeah.
That needs to be one of the things, the school activities needs to be.
And that would cover whatever they're selling for fundraisers these days. On the board.
those aren't schools.
Do what?
Those aren't schools. Those are those are teams and stuff.
Okay.
And I think the reason why, and I know it's probably a pain to have them to do permits every time, but I think the reason why, because when we first looked at this ordinance, when we did the permits for them, is to assure that somebody comes up there, signs up that they're in control of the kids, and that the kids know that they can't be running back and forth to in and out the roads. I
Well-
think that was the reason why we did the permits.
I think it's a couple of things. I think that's one of them, and I think also from a staff standpoint, it helps schedule groups over there so that you don't have multiple groups showing up competing against each other on the same street corner.
Any other discussions, comments?
Are y'all good with the 25 number? You said you had a question about that, Steve.
Well, that's what my question is 25 too many? Because it was 25 we talked about the other night. Then when I got it, it was 10, so I don't know if that's if 25 is good, if 10's good.
honestly-
Feedback from everybody else.
yeah, I honestly don't know, but my thinking in changing it back to 25 was a lot of the times when I see people selling donuts up at the corners, there's not 25 of them, so they wouldn't necessarily need a permit. And that's a fundraising event, so if you got to apply for a permit and pay money into it, that kind of defeats the purpose
Yep.
or goes against their goal. So
But they still need to get a permit even though they don't have to pay for scheduling purposes.
Ashley, do we charge them for the people at the stoplight? Do we charge them for a permit now?
So currently, the only people that get charged are people that are not associated with the nonprofit. So a lot of these baseball groups are actually registered 501c3s. And I just say baseball because that's what's been coming across our desk. And we don't typically charge them because they provide proof that they're 501c3.
And I will say the fee that's listed in here, if they're not, is just it's $10, so it's not trying to prohibit anybody from doing it.
That's a box of their donuts. That's a box of their donuts.
Did anybody make notes of what we're gonna change it to? What we're gonna take out?
I've got it, yep.
what was your thoughts on changing it to 10 if we were going to do that?
I think 10 is, I don't know if 10's, I think 10's too low. I think it needs to be between 25 and 10, because like you said, that's the first thing that come to my mind was them selling donuts. And there's usually there's more than 10, but there's less than 25. So it needs to be more than 10, but less than 25, because
So how would that work for like protesters?
As long
They
as
wanted to
there's,
assemble.
it would be the same way, as long as they were less than the number that we put in here to decide on.
So if it was 10 people, they wouldn't need a permit.
Well, unless they fall into the category of blocking a sidewalk.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because I think with something like that, particularly the one we had about 3 or 4 weeks ago on the street, on the corner at Hightower, that was put together at about 10:30 at night. And I don't think anybody had any idea how many people were gonna be showing up. So, you know, if you're saying that you, if 15 people require a permit, then you don't know how many people are gonna be showing up at the protest, if that's what we're trying to regulate.
I thought we had a section in here on that, though, that in the case of that, the spontaneity, they would apply if it went over at the first chance, which I figure we needed to actually define as the first day that City Hall's open after the event.
Well, what's the point after the fact?
Consistency, I think, would be.
What are you
the only-
regulating at that point? You're regulating something that's already occurred.
Yeah, that's
I
a
just-
good, that's a good point.
So let's just say if somebody's gonna protest, we should ask for a permit. The same thing with the traffic light, no matter if it's 1 to 12, because I can hold a protest and say, well, it actually is 26 people and I thought it was 25.
Right.
Well, we'd
know,
have to
and-
define protest then individually, because we're defining assembly in here, I think.
Or we'll
So-
say assembly,
so,
any
hold on.
assembly then.
Yeah, but my point to that was, you got 6 kids hanging out in Friendship Park and they bring a boombox, right? That's an assembly under what you're proposing. That's not what we're going after, I don't think.
No.
And I don't
So-
think the definition of assembly in here would catch that.
Okay.
Not just 26 people hanging out in Friendship Park. Again, they have to have sort of a common message for a purpose. It's not just kids set up a boombox and 20 more kids show up, you know?
Yeah.
I'm just looking at if we do a number, and once they go over the number, like Eric just said, is how do you go say, all right, you can't do it because you said it, you know, it's 26 people here.
Yeah, one person's
instead of
gotta go.
25, one
Right.
person got to go now.
I think it's gonna be a case-by-case basis. I mean, I think if they're organizing something and they're expecting over 25 people, they come get a permit.
But
There are gonna be cases where it just naturally goes over, there's not a whole lot we can.
But I don't think you can take this on a case-by-case basis, because the whole point of this is to make sure that everybody's treated equally under the Constitution.
Yep.
So as far as them protesting, how are we gonna know if somebody's protesting, saying we say you don't have to have a permit? And who's gonna govern that?
Well, the ordinance governs it.
As far as our police staff? Are we gonna be providing that?
If it's in the city limits, we're responsible for it, so yeah.
So I think I was looking to hear, they got to give us so many days notice?
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to, is it a week?
4.
4 days.
So the one event that we did have, may or may not have qualified under this ordinance,
Based on number of people?
based on the
Based-
fact that it was less than 12 hours advance notice,
Yeah.
and they had probably 20 people or so there.
I think what jumped us off, though, was the legislation after the facts. So, given your rebuttal to that argument, which made a lot of sense, do we want to take that portion out? Oh, apologies. Do we want to take that portion out, given it's essentially pointless? Or is there a legal reason to leave it in to mitigate risk?
My opinion is to leave it in, because if not, you don't really give them a way to have it.
Okay, so then what happens if they don't come in and do it? I mean, so what?
That'll be an enforcement issue.
What are you enforcing?
What do you mean?
I mean, you're
Well, we're
enforcing
talking about the
something that's after
assemblies
the fact
already
that may or may
occurred.
not happen again.
That it may or may not happen again?
Yeah.
So if they don't come in to get a permit, and they have a assembly, then how do you enforce it and what's the enforcement? Because, I mean, you
That's
got,
what I'm asking, yeah.
that's what I'm saying, because you got the freedom, you have the freedom of public gathering, friendly protesting.
My opinion is that, I would ask them if it's over 25 people to put in a permit then.
At
So
the
then what are
site.
you gonna do, make them stop?
No, it's just, you're documenting it. I mean, again, that's why it's gonna be sort of a case by case, it's an enforcement issue. You're not gonna catch everything ahead of time, because you don't know when they're gonna show up. If they're not gonna put it in ahead of time in enough time, and they show up, then, you're gonna have to do something. I don't think y'all are gonna shut them down, so it's document it the best you can and enforce it.
So you're saying, and I get what you're saying, if we wake up in the morning and somebody's out protesting, then we should go out and ask them to fill out a permit form, who's in charge, so we'll have a document saying that this person put on this particular, protest or assembly or whatever. And basically that gives us a paper trail, knowing who did it, and have somebody, if anything goes wrong, that we can contact and go with.
Correct.
So that's almost having an ordinance to have an ordinance.
Say that again?
I mean, that's basically almost having an ordinance to have an ordinance, because they can still do it. We're just going out there at that point and asking them to write down who they are, but there's no way to enforce the ordinance that we,
Yeah, 'cause
that we have in place.
they're not having to get it with the 4 days in advance and all that. So basically, if you show up,
You
then
still
we're
have-
just saying you can have it.
So then why have the 4 days? I mean,
Yes.
the whole reason why you want the advance
If we're gonna-
notice
if
is so,
then why have the ordinance at all?
right.
That's what I just
Right.
said. It's like
Right.
having an ordinance to have an ordinance. I mean, I understand the reason why we want the 4 days. We want to be able to
Prepare.
allow our police force to have somebody there to help, make sure everything's going. Everything's going right and correctly, and everybody's safe. That's why we're asking for the advance notice. But if they don't give us the advance notice, then we're still gonna have to figure out how to make everybody safe and to allow them to exercise their constitutional.
I think
right.
there would be an element of thinking on your feet with that, with regard to exactly that. But I think maybe if we stretch this to the extreme on the retroactive permitting, right? If we consistently see that out of a group, individual, or organization doing that specific thing each and every time, I think it would give us cause to take some action to make sure that they
Can't exercise their amendment, their
no,
constitutional
that they do
right.
it properly.
Get a permit.
That they do it properly. That, hey, inform them,
So I'm always the one that thinks like this. So if you go out there 5 times, and the first time I did it, I organized it, right? The second time you go out there, Susan organized it. The third time you go out there, Teresa organized it. Then you, but it's the same group of people. So it's no way to identify who's actually the person in charge. So you're still getting away with it. It's just a different person saying that they did it every time.
yeah, but you're stating it's the same group for the same
It's
actions.
the same amount. It's the same people.
No, I understand.
So
So it's everyone.
So then we got to get everybody's names to figure out who was there at the thing. I just think that's putting. I mean, right now, the way that we're saying and how we're going, and now we got an ordinance to have an ordinance.
Well, I think, with this ordinance, we're not gonna catch everything, but it gives us documentation, it gives us structure and organization to when these assemblies are coming together. At least we know about it. And then if we don't know about it, then we go and, have them comply and have it documented. So,
Because remember, the original intent is to protect the citizens of the social circle. So, while not legislating civil rights away, or constitutionally protected rights away.
I agree.
Okay.
So
I'm
my
not
question
saying I don't
is-
agree.
so-
I'm just saying that we don't. We still have no way. We're still allowing it. Is what we're saying. We're
right,
still
we're
going
gonna
to allow
allow
it.
it, yeah. Yeah. But my question is, if we don't leave it at 10, so for example, if 10 people go and want to protest somewhere, we won't know about it. They can just go and protest.
Well,
I mean, I don't know that we always have to necessarily know that there's, as long as it's peaceful, who cares what they're doing?
But wouldn't we want to know? We want to keep
Why?
people safe so we can
Well, I mean,
make sure.
if,
As long as they ain't in the road and causing a problem, and
yeah.
I mean, I don't care if I protest.
If it's 10 people in Friendship Park, then.
or, you know, on a right of way somewhere, I mean, you know, as long as they're peaceful.
If we don't have an ordinance in place, and correct me if I'm wrong, and the protest is not peaceful, it gives us less leg to stand on to break up the assembly, does it not?
I think
If it's not peaceful, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they'd still have
Yeah.
laws that.
Yeah, if it's not peaceful, then it doesn't matter.
So where we go from here?
It doesn't sound like we have a consensus, so nowhere right now.
So is the plan to take some of this feedback, go back and
If that's what they want. I'm
tweak a
happy
little
to
bit
do
more?
that. Yeah.
I mean, that's probably the best thing to do.
Okay. That's fine. I mean, until then, we're just operating under the current ordinance, so, you know.
I've had a question like rock throwing. I mean, that's not peaceful.
Yeah.
That should be
Well, if you look at
point if you're throwing a rock or wood or.
well, if you look at the one I sent back, it's got most of that stricken out.
Yeah, because I was looking at that.
Yeah.
I didn't see that script.
I thought it was.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll bring it back to the next work session.
Yep.
Yep, sounds good. Bring it
Okay.
back.
We do have an need for executive session tonight.
Okay.
Okay. I need a motion for executive session
So
for
moved.
potential discussion on real estate litigation personnel.
So much.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Motion passed. Thank you all for attending our city council meeting as we go into our executive session.